Hi, everyone. I hope you all are doing well and having a great day, staying safe. So if you've been following me on social media, you probably were wondering, okay, Karen, what is your big news? You've been talking about this with your book for a long time. And before I, announce what this, big news is, I want to give you guys a little bit of a context. So this is about a feature and, added bonus to the book. And like most textbooks, you have the main book that basically has all the content that you'll be covering for your classes. But what a lot of people focus on are the additional resources, the ancillaries. And this could be anything from PowerPoints, assignments, exercises, text bank. So there's a lot of things here that are included that help supplement the textbook. So for my social media book, I did everything. I had a portfolio book, I had a test bank, I had discussion questions, I had simple syllabi. And so I was able to create it myself just because I wanted to have the alignment. But for the PR book, Sage, my publisher, who, the team, Stacy, Lily, Jen, they're amazing. They reached out to me and they said, Karen, we would like to get some help, to create your ancillaries for your PR book, Discovering PR. And to be perfectly honest, there was only one name that came up. And I thought if we were able to get him on board, I think this is going to be absolutely like rock star level, because the respect I have for this individual in our field is at the highest. Like, he is the top of his game. And I'm really excited to be able to share the news that we got this person to do the ancillaries, for Discovering PR. So for those of you who are in the PR and social media circles, you probably heard the name Matt Kushin a lot. So Matt and I met, gosh, it's been probably about 6 or 7 years now. It's been a while, but I have been so impressed with his work. If you don't follow his blog, you definitely need to. If you haven't bought his book, Teaching, Social Media, you need to get that also. It's available on Amazon. Matt has really set himself apart from other professors in his role as an associate professor at Shepherd University for really not only being generous with his resources, ideas, and assignments for his classes, but really taking it to the next level where the attention to detail, the innovativeness, and the creativity of what he's doing for his classes is just astounding. And so that is really what makes Matt stand out, a rest from the crowd. So when I first discovered his blog, I was like, who is this person? And I have to meet him. I have to collaborate. This is amazing. And I got a chance to collaborate with Matt on a research project, a few years later, focusing on Hootsuite University. And since then, we've been able to work together, collaborate. Matt has, of course, gotten his own book out for Teach Social Media. And I remember telling Sage, I only had one person in mind to help create the ancillaries, and that was Matt. And so Matt is creating the ancillaries for Discovering PR. And so in the next, segment of this video, I sat down with Matt to kind of talk about his journey as a professor, but also, breaking the news that he is in fact creating the ancillaries for Discovering PR, but also, giving us a sneak peek of what to expect for his offerings for the ancillaries for the book. I'm really excited for you guys to hear from Matt, and I think this is going to be a tremendous resource for Discovering PR. And then I'm really honored to have Matt as not only a colleague, friend, but also a fellow collaborator on this project. Awesome. So Matt, thank you so much for joining me. I am so glad to not only see you, hope you're doing well, staying safe, semester's done?
Semester's done.
Semester's done. So first off, I wanted to take a moment to, allow you to kind of introduce yourself to the many professors who will be watching this video in light of, our exciting announcement that we have, that we'll be sharing in a few minutes.
So hi, everyone. My name is Matt Kushin. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Communication at Shepherd University in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. I teach social media, public relations, campaigns, research courses, writing courses, I'm also the author of a blog, Social Media Syllabus at mattkushin.com. And last summer, I published a book called Teach Social Media, which is a plan for creating a course for professors to teach social media to their students at university.
Which is a fantastic book. I mean, I have it in my bookcase right behind me. Well, you can't really see it with my virtual background, but it is honestly one of the best books. And I know I've shared with everybody that I know who teaches PR, social media. It's like the must-have book. And it recently was reviewed, right, by Journal of Public Relations Education.
Yes, Dr. Tyndall reviewed it recently in the Journal of Public Relations Education. I was extremely excited and honored for that. And yeah, the feedback has been great. It has been a real honor. And I've been very excited to get emails and messages from people asking questions or just sharing feedback. It's been a fun and tremendous journey.
And, what's been really exciting, Matt, to kind of see is, as you mentioned with your blog, it's pretty much the go-to place for the best of the best when it comes to assignments and approaches in classes. You have been so generous with how you've been approaching your classes at Shepherd University, the assignment layouts. I mean, when we first met, it's been what, about 6 or 7 years now since we first met, which
yeah, I think 2013, about 7 years.
2013. That's crazy. It just seems like yesterday. But I mean, I just remember seeing your website and I'm like, oh my gosh, like Matt is the best at this. And I know that this video is going to be, announcing our exciting news. And I remember when I was working on Discovering PR, when Jen and Lily and Stacy came to me and they're like, Karen, we would love to get your recommendations on who would you would recommend, to work on the ancillaries. And I just told them one name. It was you. I said, Matt Kushin is the best. And if we got him on board to do the ancillaries, I would probably do a happy dance for the remainder of the year. And when I got the news that you were on board, I almost fainted, but I caught myself, because I didn't want to drink, drop my coffee. So, but I'm just so excited that you are going to be, creating the ancillaries for Discovering PR.
Well, it's an absolute honor. I was honored to be asked, and it really meant a lot to me to be a part of, to have a role in this book. When I saw that you had another book coming out, I thought, first thing is, does she sleep? And then the second thing I thought was, this is an honor for me to be a part of it, because your social media textbook has been just such a tremendous success, and you hear everyone talking about it. And then I kind of thought, well, if what that textbook has done for teaching social media and for students and for professors, sort of this new book certainly is going to open up a lot of doors to do that and kind of more into the principal space. And so just to be a part of it was really exciting. And then I guess sort of sneak peek, I have read it, obviously, since I've had a chance to work on it. So kind of to start, I was honored, and then to see it, and to go through it and everything, I know that it's going to be a smash hit, because I've just seen the shift, that this book takes, in its approach versus some of the other books that I've read through or worked through in different ways. So I think it's just an honor to be able to be a part of that.
I really appreciate that, Matt. Yeah, no, I mean, and I think you and I are kind of built from the same cloth, like in terms of our approaches and, our emphasis in social media. And that's been something, with the book that I really felt there were several things that I thought were missing, that were not being incorporated perhaps in some of the other principles for PR books. And so, I really wanted to have a book that really not only had kind of a modern take of what PR was, but really emphasized kind of the marketable skills that our students who want to get into this field need to have. And I feel what you've been able to do with your assignments, throughout your career, have been just so cutting edge in terms of providing great experiences for students to be prepared, for the workplace. And just the rigor, the thoughtfulness, and the depth has just been tremendous. And I'm just really excited to have your, take on how you're approaching that. And so when you've been working on the book, and the ancillaries. What's been the approach that you've been taking with that?
So um, been developing discussion questions and activities. And so these, kind of focusing on the activities as I'm going or have been going through the different chapters, I kind of try to take my project-based approach, which I think readers of my blog will kind of recognize. A lot of what I always try to do is sort of take an idea and think, how can we bring that to life for a student? I know that some classes are, sort of group-based classes. Some are going to be larger lecture halls. Obviously, right now with COVID, we don't know if it'll be online or in person at different universities. And so I tried to kind of think, how can I create different activities that people can use, sort of, whether they're going to be online, whether they're going to be in person, whether they're going to be kind of in group settings. So try to kind of create a diversity of different types of activities, and then try to think about, as I sort of was kind of saying before, it's like, let's take this idea and give people a chance to sort of expand upon it. So it's kind of, I always try to think about something as, if there is sort of a seed, if there's a cool concept that students want to learn, and sort of as we plant that seed, how do we add some water to it so then the students get to see it sort of grow and sort of see themselves in that role. So some of the things are looking at some historical moments in the history of public relations and giving students almost sort of a chance to kind of look at that artifact and kind of discuss it and explore it. Some of the activities are things like, let's take some of the concepts from the book around content creation or around branding and things, and then take either some real world examples and kind of develop out some ideas of what they might look like. And then, sort of some kind of made up kind of fun examples, made up kind of brands or situations. And then I have students sort of work through the execution of whether it's ideating, sort of brainstorming type of practices, whether it's thinking about, different types of content or working with influencers and these types of things. So I tried to kind of approach all of it with that same mindset, or that same way that I try to approach everything that I would be doing in my class.
That's amazing. No, I'm just really, really excited about that, because I think that's really important and kind of brings forth like the diverse approaches that you're talking about in your ancillaries and activities and discussion questions. It really gives the students a window to what this field is all about. And I feel like that has been missing from some books in the past, is where they're like, okay, this is PR and we're only going down this road, when we can't have the blinders on. We have to kind of look at PR as a whole. And I think the activities and exercises and discussion questions that you're bringing forth really bring forth a really awesome comprehensive view of where PR is. And I think that is for an intro class, or whether it's a seminar, a big lecture hall, or even online, it's so important to introduce the whole vast array of possibilities that are available in the field. And I think that intro classes, whether it's intro to marketing, PR, social media, are the most important classes, because that class is really going to be deciding whether or not students are like, yeah, I'm going to pursue this field, for the future, or maybe not, so it's so important to give them a wide range of saying, these are all the possibilities and how things are happening. And I don't know if you saw this in the book, but I feel that I've mentioned certain brands a lot, like Aviation Gin and a few others. And so I'm like, okay, some, probably the educators and students are going to be like, okay, what was Dr. Freberg doing when she was writing this? But there's just some brands and case studies that I'm like, it's important for the students to, know the innovativeness and the creativity that these approach. And so I'm really glad that you're using some of the cases, from the book, but you're providing other scenarios and other examples for the students in your ancillaries.
Right. And this is kind of a quick aside, sort of reading the book, as your personality is in it, kind of to mention, things I've seen you post on social media, brands that I know that, you've spoken about, and then, students can read about them and learn more about them. And then I think another point that you made, which I think is a theme underneath what you're kind of saying, is that something that appealed to me about this book is it's sort of, I know it's kind of a cliche to say, but it's sort of breaking down silos. so I can sort of see in this book, you mentioned blinders, and I kind of see sort of this broad, you said this broader view and a kind of an innovative view. And I think sort of to your point of, if I'm a student coming into this, let's say it's a principles course, and I'm trying to understand what is this field about, and is this something that I can project my future into, I think that the approach that you've taken in everything you've done has shown people sort of, the title for the first book that you wrote, sort of a roadmap, sort of this is where it's sort of like a carpet sort of being rolled out, the red carpet, and sort of saying, this is the direction that you can go in. And I think that one thing that I know I appreciate about you, and I imagine a lot of others do, is that you don't look at things as barriers. You look at things as opportunities. And I think the book is about showing people the opportunities that public relations has, particularly, today. And sort of it's a point of view that's a very current point of view.
Thank you. No, I mean, that means so much to me, because I mean, when you're writing a book like this, I feel like when social media changes so much, right? And they're really, for you, like you really kind of set the standard for teaching social media with your book. And even with the work that I've done with my previous books, like there really was, I mean, it was very, not like Wild Wild West kind of standing, but it was like, kind of like, hey, this is fluid, there's really no set fundamental structure. But in PR, as you know, there's certain things that need to be covered. There's a whole list that that you have to follow to be aligned with APR or to the Commission for Public Relations Education, which that was actually one of the reports that I really used to kind of help frame the necessary components for this book, like having a chapter completely on diversity and inclusion. That was something that I really felt that needed to be placed. Having a management and business acumen chapter, that was key. I do have a theory chapter, which Sage says you need to have that. I'm like, okay, I see the benefit of it, so, but yeah, so it's a bit more structured. There's certain things that you have to cover, but there's also a lot of wiggle room that you kind of say, okay, yeah, you need to have, certain things, but as you said, kind of creating those opportunities, saying this is what the field is about and where it's going. And that's kind of been my overall goal for this book. And so one question I wanted to ask you too, Matt, is as you are working on these ancillaries, we've had a lot of professors that have been very interested. They're adopting this book, but they have a question. They're like, the publication date is in August. If I want to use this in fall, like what's, they're concerned about the prep time that will be needed. And so what are some of the things that you can, share with professors who are interested in adopting the book that could reassure them that what you are creating is going to make this a very seamless process?
Yeah, and I think that's an understandable question that people would have. Book adoption is certainly a commitment. I think from my point of view, because I'm the sort of person that really tries to, focus on how I can take content and how people can use that content, in terms of activities and things. I think that there's going to be a lot of material in there that as a professor goes into the classroom, they're going to be able to not have to reinvent the wheel. There's going to be a lot of activities and discussion questions that they can structure the course off of. So, I am confident that that's going to create content that they feel that they can take and use, which will, I believe, kind of really, shrink that sort of adoption time, if you will. And I think having those ancillaries, and I think having a book that's really well structured and organized in and of itself is going to be easy to sort of look at. There's going to be a syllabus that's going to be provided in there as well, which I didn't mention. There'll be a syllabus for semester. There'll be an online syllabus, and there'll be a quarter-based syllabus as well. So those materials can also be sort of plug and play for professors adopting the book.
That's amazing. Yeah, because I mean, it's in light. I mean, everyone kind of thinks that, oh, all classes are in semester systems, but it's like, no, like there's quarters, then there's some online programs that are only 5 to 6 weeks long. And so that's been a question, is like, how do you drill down, like a class or book into a very short amount of time, but how do you also extend it, for the period of time of the semester? So this is
Right.
all like really, really reassuring, Matt. And so my final question for you is, what has been your favorite thing to create in the ancillaries? Has there been a chapter or assignment that you're like, I am so proud of this, I'm so excited, that you want to give people like a little sneak peek into what you've been working on?
Sure. So I can't remember which chapter it was, but I created my own video game, sort of, it's a sort of a made up kind of, so one of the scenarios is, you're creating content around a sort of a video game type of kind of setup. And so as a, just sitting there and starting to imagine out this thing, and I probably sat there for an hour just sort of like picturing what this game sort of like, as my imagination is going, I'm like, oh, and then there would be this, and there's like sort of like a companion that goes along with the main character and things. And it's really, in reality, it's sort of a paragraph or two that's a prompt, but just sort of the fun of kind of going, okay, and like, what would be something that students, would really enjoy kind of developing out some different content examples and things for. So when you asked me that question, that one kind of immediately came to mind, because I was trying to do research to make sure that, because I came up sort of with a silly sort of name, and I was like, well, I hope there's not a video game character named this, so I'm Googling, like, is there really, like, I don't want some company to say, oh, we already have that. So that one was kind of just as a fun, kind of little thing to do. And then I think just, there's other things like that. As you're sort of developing an activity, you're kind of thinking, okay, how do I make this, there's ones that are based off real companies, and then there are the ones that are sort of, sort of a twist on things, and letting the students kind of go and imagine what something might be that they could work on. But, as I kind of mentioned, there's some fun things with ideation. There's some fun things with, okay, how would you how would you kind of identify the right type of influencer for this type of brand, and just sort of things that I think are fun to kind of work on and do.
I love that. Well, I have to now act like, I love video games. I pretty much grew up on video games. So I have to ask you, what is your favorite video game?
Ooh.
You can
Okay.
have like top five. I mean, I feel like that's for me. Like, I have to go by system. Like for me, like
Okay.
having one game is like too hard.
So as a kid, so I grew up, we had an Atari when I was real young.
Mm-hmm.
But Nintendo was sort of kind of 1985. So
Yep.
age myself about when I was sort of coming into that kind of stuff. And one game that we really loved was called Rad Racer. It was for the
Oh, okay.
Nintendo, and it was this it's like you're behind the car, like an arcade game, you know what I mean? You kind of see the car, and you have to kind of race it. And it was really, innovative at the time, because there was a 3D version. So you could put it on 3D, and it came with, those kind of red and blue glasses.
Oh, right, right.
It was, very primitive 3D. And, we would try to play it, and you can only do it for a couple of minutes, because it kind of, sort of the blue and the red. So I later found out, as I got older, that after my mom would put us to bed, she would stay up playing that video game. But she was into games. So I would say that is a family favorite, Rad Racer.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much, like, my sisters and I, both my parents, like, literally, we grew up on video games. But I agree with you, like, I'm team Nintendo all the way. Like,
Yeah.
I actually had the discussion with my students. It seems like every semester, because I actually had a few gamers this semester, and we had this big discussion about how Nintendo 64 was the system that had like the OG games. Like it was,
Yeah.
I basically told my students, like, don't at me, this is the system. But yeah, our family, we were definitely big Mario Kart,
Oh,
players.
yeah.
I mean, some of our competitions got a little intense,
Yeah.
but Zelda is a big favorite. Even though I don't like the spiders the video
Yeah.
games. And so, but
Yeah.
yeah, video games are a lot of fun. So I just want to thank you again, Matt, for coming, and sharing your, expertise and just opening up a window into like what, educators, students will be able to expect in, your work for discovering PR. And I'm just beyond grateful to have you be part of this project. You are one of the best, and I'm just so excited to have you on board. So thank you again.
Karen, thank you so much. It's an honor truly to be a part of the project, and I'm just really excited and can't wait for it to be out and into everyone's hands. And I really thank you for the opportunity, and it really means the world to me.
Yeah, so the book will be out in August along with the Ancillaries, so that'll be really exciting. I'm really excited, and I mean, it's going to be really wonderful. And so when everything gets done, we'll definitely have to celebrate together. I'll have to buy you coffee, for all of the great work that you've been doing. So thank you again, Matt.
Thank you.